Hey everyone, it's Cryptic D Athena, and I wanted to talk about something very important. Um, I'm just sort of gonna go off the cuff here because I didn't know how to script this, and I'm just a little bit scared to make this video because some people that are subscribed to me are people I know in real life, and they don't know what I'm about to say. So, yeah. Um, so. In one of the Discord servers I'm in, we were having a discussion about Yamato's gender in One Piece and how he is currently presenting himself as he, and one person wasn't particularly understanding, but a lot of people were on board with the idea of him using masculine pronouns, even though he looks like a woman. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was a decently healthy conversation. I think the person who just didn't understand, I don't know if they will understand for a little bit. So it's fine. Um, I think at the end of the day, everyone just needs to do research on things they just don't understand. But at least the conversation was not toxic. So, that's all I could ever ask for is that the conversation didn't spiral into angry hate comments and stuff about all sorts of things. But anyways, why do I want to talk about this? Well, uh, it's because I don't think Yamato will be a he for the foreseeable future, and I say this coming from the mindset of being a trans woman. Now, obviously, I don't sound like it. If you know me in real life, I definitely, unfortunately, don't look um, I don't look how I want to look. You know what I mean? I'm not in a living situation where I can change my voice or even change any sort of clothing, at least drastically. And if I come out wearing makeup, like I don't, that would seal my fate. I don't think it would seal my fate, but it would definitely cause some concern with my mom, who I'm living with at the moment. Um, and I'm just afraid that I won't be able to live here without something happening. I don't know if she would just kick me out for being trans, but with the way that she talks about trans people, it's a little terrifying, but I like to hope that, you know, aside from loving me because I'm her child, she loves me because she wants to rather than she needs to, because the job of a mother, right? They're supposed to love their child. But anyways, why do I think that Yamato isn't going to be a he for much longer? Well, there are several reasons, but we gotta go back. We gotta go back to what is it? Impel Down with the Okama and Emperor Ivankov, or Emporio Ivankov. So when it comes to Ivankov, actually, we'll start with him. Um, I think at best, well, first of all, he's definitely not transgender or transsexual. He's probably non-binary or androgynous, I would say. But he is someone who can straight up change people into the opposite sex completely and make someone genetically a woman or genetically a man. And it's kind of crazy. And you know, he's certainly based off of someone who, well, I don't know what, let's see here, transvestite. So, if you don't know, I'm just gonna say Ivankov. Ivankov is clearly based off of Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show, who was a transvestite in that movie and play. Transvestite is a person who wears clothes designed for the opposite sex. Oh, a crossdresser. Okay. Well, there you go. Crossdresser, but he can also change himself to appear more like a woman. So that's pretty crazy. But the point about him is that, you know, whenever he changes someone into a woman, it's like done as a joke almost. Like, I don't remember exactly the scene, but where he shows off one of his abilities and he changes someone into a woman, it's like sort of played for a joke, and the guy just doesn't know what exactly what's happening. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird when it happens, and you know, it doesn't really. I don't know. It's just like a weird thing that happens. And then as for the Okama, which are people born male but have adopted various female traits according to the One Piece wiki. These are people who apparently cross-dress or change their biological sex with the help of Ivankov's devil fruit. Now, there's nothing wrong with Okama in general. Like, as actual people, there's nothing wrong with being an Okama, which is apparently a slang term in Japan for, I think it said, like, according to Wikipedia anyways, said like a umbrella term for being a homosexual. But you know, that's not entirely the case. Like, over here in the West, that's not what we would say. But you know, I don't know Japan enough. You know what I mean? So yeah, but when it comes to being an Okama as an actual person, that's a fine thing. But the Okama in One Piece are portrayed as being very, very ugly men, cross-dressing, and with the first visual representation of stepping into the direction of transgenderness or transsexualness in One Piece, definitely not a good start. I will say that straight up. It's definitely not a great start. I remember when I was watching this, I was just like, well, that's weird. And I didn't know what transgender meant when I was watching One Piece back then. It's only been like a couple years. I was watching One Piece in like 2013 to 2015 or something like that. But I was watching it and I had no idea what transgender was, but I was just like, this does not feel right, and I don't feel good. So I was kind of weirded out by that. And even with a little bit of Ivankov, I was feeling a little like, this is weird. And you know, his whole thing is that he's sort of played as a joke, but he's also, I think he's a very cool character either way. But when we first meet him, he's sort of played as a joke of being like, oh, this guy can change people's sexuality or change their sex, as in their body parts. And it's, you know, as a step in the direction of transgender representation of in One Piece, it's kind of rough. Very rough indeed. So from there, I can't remember anyone in the story being outed as like a person who goes by the opposite gender, up until Wano, which we get Kiku. And she is currently the only confirmed trans person in One Piece, and that's very good. And when she's on screen, nothing's played for laughs. Oda takes it very seriously, and I almost think that he may know some trans people in real life, because, like, with Kiku and Yamato, when they both say that they want to be referred to as he, him, or she, her, everyone immediately says, yeah, that's your identity, and that's how we will refer to you from here on out. And I think that's, probably a sign of growth from where we came from with the Okama. But, who knows? It may be a sign of growth, or maybe it's just like maybe we'll never come back to the Okama. I don't know. But anyways, with Kiku, very clearly a trans woman, and when it comes to talking about trans characters in One Piece, in the One Piece community, it's very interesting how most people in the community will say that Kiku is definitely a woman, and will accept her as a trans woman. And then we get to Yamato, and everything gets kind of crazy. So, first things first, as I'm reading from the One Piece wiki here, Yamato is the daughter of Kaido of the Four Emperors and proclaims to be Kazuki Oden. This profound admiration for the legendary samurai has led Yamato to embody everything related to the samurai, to the extent of proclaiming to be a man as well, and Yamato is widely referred to Kaido's son, or as Kaido's son. So from that alone, you can already tell something is not adding up. So first of all, when we're first introduced to Yamato, the Oda box, well, not first introduced. When Yamato reveals himself from the mask and the wig and everything, Oda box says he is the daughter of Kaido. So that certainly doesn't help the whole situation of Yamato seeing himself as a man, and everyone else referring to him as a man. And then we also have the whole thing of the reason why he calls himself a man is because he wants to be like Odin. And I think that's definitely those are definitely 2 points of contention when it comes to talking about this topic. And I think that they should not be ignored, especially the Kazuki Odin part, where he thinks that he is Odin. Now, what's interesting about this is that I think, from my perspective as a trans person, it's kind of interesting how, maybe in Yamato's story, backstory, he may have struggled with finding an identity to begin with. I'm a big fan of the theory that why Yamato refers to himself as a he is because Kaido essentially beat that idea into him, and which is not a weirdly uncommon thing. I've heard plenty of stories about that happening to kids, where they're told to be the gender that they may not want to be, um, or like they get the idea in their head beaten into them that they are a girl or they are a boy. And that's, I don't think that's, it certainly happens today, but it's not something that I've seen in a long time. I haven't seen that in years. And then there's also the thing, and it also doesn't help that this has happened in like movies as well. There's a particularly famous one. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a horror movie about this kid who is forced to grow up as a girl, and because of this, they have very distressing mental issues. And at some sort of summer camp, they go around killing people because they have mental problems, and like, it's definitely not a good direction for trans representation, as that's like a big thing in horror movies where uh being where someone being a person who identifies as their opposite gender often turns out to be a villain. But that's besides the point. So the point of that little tangent there is just to show everyone that it is possible that Yamato had the idea of being a man being beaten into him. And some more ideas about that is, to go along with that theory, is that people will point out that maybe he heard the story of some kid, some boy being born and being like the destined child of becoming Joy Boy. So when Kaido had a kid, he was probably hoping to have a son, but then he realizes that he has a daughter, and he's just like, oh no, I don't want that. So he decides to beat the idea of being a man into Yamato. And that would be a very interesting storyline. And I think for sure that would point out that Yamato is not trans, but I don't know how this would resonate with other trans people in the One Piece community. But it is possible that even if Yamato realizes that his identity was beaten into him, he may still want to be a man because that's who Odin was, and he idolizes Odin. He doesn't care that his gender was beaten into him. He just cares that he wants to be someone like Odin, and to be like Odin, he thinks that you have to be a man, so he continues to call himself a man. And whether or not that lines up with like how trans people should or shouldn't be, that's personally none of my business. Certainly not none of anybody else's business. So, point is, I don't know if Yamato will continue to be a he. And there's some other things too, like aside from the Okama and Emperor Ivankov being the first quote trans representation in One Piece, when Yamato but during his chase with Momo and I forgot the other lady's name. Whatever. When he meets Momo, he has him jump into his shirt, and it's like played for laughs because Yamato obviously has boobs, and Momo is obviously a pervert, and that whole sequence is played for laughs. And I just think that if Oda was going to keep a trans character trans, he wouldn't have done a joke like that, because look at Kiku. There hasn't been as far as I remember, there hasn't been a genuine played for laughs joke about her being trans. There hasn't been like a time where her kimono has been lifted up and like, oh no, she has a penis. You know, that hasn't been like a thing in the show, which is very good. And from seeing Yamato have a joke played out like that with his breasts, I just think it's interesting that we have a trans character in Kiku. No joke has been played out for Kiku, but there has been one with Yamato. And there's also this whole thing where if Yamato is trans, or if he continues to call himself he, and if he joins the Straw Hats, people are just like, oh, what the fuck is Sanji gonna think? And I'm just like, you know, if that were to happen, I think that'd be a little, you know, put points on points of not liking Sanji any more than I already don't like him. Um, you know, aside from being a very womanizing person, now he's disrespecting the identity of a possibly trans person. That's a little weird, a little sus. You know, for me, that'd be a reason to not like Sanji. But you know, obviously, I think many people will just be like, ah, haha. He's like, ah, this idiot calling himself a he, but he has boobies. Haha, joke funny. You know, and I just think that'd be very damaging for Yamato as a character if he does continue to call himself a he. And in that regard, that's why I think Yamato may not continue to identify himself as a he. That's something very concerning, because of as I've already discussed, Okama. There's like the first representation of transgender people is Okama and Ivankov, which were both played for laughs. Then we get Kiku, who is genuinely a good trans character in One Piece. There hasn't been a joke played about her. And the people who have misgendered her are quickly corrected and they respect it. Or if they don't respect it, they get beaten or something like that. I don't remember who misgendered her, but it's okay. And then we come back to Yamato, who before not before, after meeting Luffy, he starts calling him as he wants to be. And then when Yamato meets Momo, I do believe he starts referring to him as a he. Then we get to that point where Yamato has to put, or he's escaping with Momo, and he's just like, jump into my shirt, Momo, and boom, titties. And Momo's just like, oh my god, boobs. You know, I'm just like, if Yamato does turn out to be trans, I will always hold that up as like, why'd you do this? If you wanted to respect trans people, you shouldn't have done this. But you know, maybe I'm looking a little too deep into it. Maybe I should just think of it as a joke. But you know, to me, it does feel a little harmful. I can only imagine if there are any trans men in the One Piece community. I can only imagine how you must have felt about that. Because I know if Kiku were to be played for laughs, you know, if my whole situation with her kimono being lifted up and like revealing that she has a penis, you know, if that were to play out, I would definitely feel some type of way, some sort of upset way. But yeah, and you know, aside from Yamato wanting to be a man because Odin was a man, I watched this video by, I think it was Arthur, Library of Ohara. Let me type this in real quick. Library of Ohara. Yeah, that's the video. and he was talking about Yamato's identity. And it's a very good video. I highly encourage you to go to watch it. I'll put the link in the description actually. The video is called "What is Yamato's Gender?" and Archer goes into plenty of routes as to why Yamato is a he. It's a good video, and there's plenty of reasons to believe that you should call Yamato he. You should respect that, because all signs point to you really should. But you know, there's still plenty of people who don't, and I think they're just confused by all the things in the story that say otherwise, such as the Kaido's daughter thing in the Oda box. And I'd imagine that the joke with Momo jumping into his shirt, that definitely hit something for some people. It definitely hit something for me, for sure. And then there's the whole thing of him only getting his gender identity from Odin, which, you know, whether that be the case or not, I don't really care. You should still really respect the identity of Yamato when literally every character in the story refers to him as he. I don't get why that's so hard. Every character in the story, even the villain, Kaido, refers to Yamato as him. And whether that be from the day that he idolized Odin, or from before even knowing who Odin was, I think it's very interesting that even when every character in One Piece calls Yamato he, there are still a handful of people in the One Piece community who are just like, she. But you know, it's an interesting topic. But anyways, I think as some closing thoughts, that Yamato, I personally don't believe that Yamato will continue to be calling himself by masculine pronouns. I really hope he does. Certainly be a strong win for transgender people, because while Kiku is definitely good, I think a more long-running character being Yamato, or potentially long-running if Yamato joins the Straw Hats, I think it'd be a very strong win for the trans people in the One Piece community and trans people in general to have a strong trans character as representation. So with that in mind, I highly encourage everyone, I don't care who you are, I highly encourage you to continue to use he, him pronouns for Yamato for the foreseeable future, or up until the end of Wano, where we will possibly get confirmation on whether or not Yamato is a he or a she. And with that, I want to thank you all for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts, you know, from a trans perspective. Certainly hope I don't lose people that I know in real life for talking about this, or outing myself. Like, this is not how I would want to do it, but it's the only way. Like, I had to talk about this. It's not the only way, but I had to talk about this. This is important for trans people to talk about, and I haven't seen a single one talk about this. I understand that you're probably scared, and I'm definitely scared too, but it's important to talk about Yamato and Kiku and all of the possible trans representation of One Piece and any representation in any media. It's important to get our voices out there and let our voices be heard. So anyways, thank you all for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed my drawing of my One Piece character. I want to do a whole video on them, but they are, or she is, they are. I usually just use they them as default nowadays, but she is Cryptic D Athena. She is that character. And I guess my persona as the One Piece YouTube girl. And I will do a whole video on her and her backstory, but I want you guys to take a little guess at what her devil fruit is. There's no hints in the picture. There's no hints in the video. In general, there won't be any hints on Twitter. There might be, I mean, there will be a hint on Twitter, but you kind of have to go looking for it. And your only hint is that the devil fruit completely transforms her as soon as she eats it. That's your only hint. I hope you guys figure it out, because it has something to do with one of my past theories. And once you figure it out, I definitely recommend checking out the video where I kind of talk about it. So yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you want. Like the video if you liked it. Follow my Twitter at cryptichell, or cryptic_hell, HEL, like the Norse goddess. You follow that and you'll be able to see all the artwork I do for all my videos. And I hope you all have a good day. My name is Cryptic D Athena, and I am trans.